Alright folks, welcome back to the 9th week of me going through Phase 4 of the MCU, and today we'll be deep diving into a series most people weren't expecting for a while, and that is Moon Knight. This is created by Jeremy Slater for Disney+. This is the MCU's 6th series. Slater also was the head writer, and Mohamed Diab was the director. The show follows Mark Spector, who is a mercenary with DID, where he has to go on a deadly mission involving Egyptian gods, along with his alternate personality, Stephen Grant. Oscar Isaac plays Mark. His other two personalities are Stephen Grant, who's a friendly British personality inspired by a film character of the same name, and his brother who passed away when he was younger. His other personality is Jake Longley, who we see in the credit scene, but he does not know about yet. May Calloway plays Layla, who is Mark's wife, who helps him even with their complications, and becomes Scarlet Scarab at the end. Cameron L. Hakwim and F. Murray Abraham plays Khonshu, who is the moon god who gives Mark his second chance. Ethan Hawke plays Arthur Harrow, who is the old avatar of Khonshu, who is now a cult leader who wants to release Ammit to judge people based on their future crimes. Khalid Abdallah plays the avatar of Horus and the leader of the Anid Council. Anota Salib plays Toa, the goddess of childbirth. Frona Andrea and Ray Lucas play Mark's parents. Then finally Sophia Danu and Saba Mabaraka plays Ammit. The series has 6 episodes that aired from March 30th, 2022 to May 4th. 4 episodes were directed by Mohammed, and the other 2 were directed by Aaron Muirhead and Justin Benson. Then for the writing team we had Slater, Michael Castelline, Bio Di Maio, Peter Cameron, Sabeh Pirzada, Alex Minhan, Rebecca Kirsch, Matthew Orton and Danielle Eman. The character was originally going to be introduced in the 2nd season of the Blade series before it got cancelled all the way back in September 2006. A spin-off for the character was also in development but got scrapped along with its main show. Marvel Studios would go on to partner with No Equal Entertainment that October to create a show based on the character, with John Kuski hired to develop it in 2008. However, nothing else was heard from it. James Gunn would then go on to say in January 2017 that he had talks with the studio to create a film based on the character, but didn't have any time to work on it. By April 2018, Feige responded saying that the characters planned to join the MCU, but they had no clue when they would do it. Finally, by August 2019, it was announced at D23 that the series based on the character was going forward for Disney+. That November, Slater was hired as the head writer and producer. The Egyptian director was then hired to direct the 4 episodes in October 2020. According to Mohammed, he was approached out of the blue by the studio. Then he and his wife put together a 200-page documentary with their vision of the series. The other 2 directors were then contacted in November 2020, since they had discussions with the studio before, and they were hired to direct the 2 episodes in January 2021. In February 2021, Feige said that the series and She-Hulk had potential to have more seasons. However, a year later, Isaac has stated that it was a limited series, but Mohammed is still unsure about if it will be a separate limited series or if it will have multiple seasons. Slater wanted this series to have a similar tone to Raiders of the Lost Ark and Ghostbusters, where he could bring in some horror elements and monsters into the MCU. Mohammed has gone on to say that the creators were respectful to the ID, however this is still a fictional world, so parts were over-dramatised. He was the one that also suggested to use mirrors to let Mark and Stephen talk to each other. Elements were very much taken from modern takes of the character, such as when the identity is not in control, they lose track of time. Mainly Jeff Lemire and Greg Smallwood's run were the inspiration behind the show. Slater went on to say that a part was removed from the comics, which was where the character was a playboy philanthropist, since that trademark is very much known for the characters such as Iron Man and most importantly Batman, which is a heavily comparison he wanted to take away. He also believed focus on the multiple personalities would very much make people stop comparing him to that character. Isaac has gone on to say that he thinks this is the first legit Marvel character study since the MCU Iron Man. An odd early plan they had was to make Stephen become Moon Knight, then have Spectre reveal himself as Mr. Knight. However, a lot has changed since then and the roles were reversed. The series is set in early 2025, however no connections to other MCU projects before it were there, with some references originally planned that they would mention Gore the Butcher, who will be the main villain of Love and Thunder. However, that ultimately got cut. Even then, it is more set in London and Egypt compared to the usual New York City. Heck, even that was the setting in the comics, but they did this so it felt different compared to the other MCU projects. Isaac entered the negotiations for the lead role in October 2020 and was cast in January 2021. Marvel Studios were going to announce the casting that May. He was initially hesitant to join the MCU after his experience with Star Wars, but then accepted the role after being fascinated with the character from researching DID. May and Hawk were then cast in January 2021. Isaac initially talked to Hawk about joining, and Mohammed would even tell him not to read the script because they wanted to develop the character along with the character's actor. Luckily, the actor agreed to do so, and it is the first time he ever did that in 35 years. There is a Harrow in the comic books, but he is a minor character, and Hawk has gone on to say that this is mostly original character with the same name. Filming was expected to begin in March 2021 and was confirmed to be happening in Hungary at the end of April. Even though they were directed by different people, it has been said the first few episodes feel the most connected because they were still figuring out production then. There were two cinematographers for the series. Greg Middleton worked with Mohammed, and Andrew Droz Palmero worked with Benson and Moorhead. Originally they had planned to film for 26 weeks from November 16, 2020, but that was delayed due to COVID, as expected. Filming then happened at the Museum of Fine Arts in Budapest in April, which served as the Nation Gallery in the show. They then filmed outdoor night scenes in early June at Budapest. By the beginning of October 2021, filming then moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and they then wrapped on October 14th. Additional photography was then done by mid-November, with Mohammed stating that they didn't have to reshoot much compared to other MCU projects, and it lasted only 4 days. Cedric Nahn-Smith served as the editor on the project for the first and final episodes. John Sobel edited the second and fifth episodes, and Mohammed Hafez edited the third and fourth episode. This was all while Sean Andrew Faden served as the visual effects supervisor. Egyptian composer Hassan Nazi composed the series in early 2022, and this was his first major English project. Even though this was a series, a special screening happened on March 16th at Sin Capital in Madrid, and then on March 17th at the British Museum in London. They finally had a red carpet premiere on March 22nd in LA. Critically, Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 87% from 218 reviews, and Metacritic gave it a 69 out of 100 based on 27 reviews. This show really knows how to handle its tone. Action is decent enough, and also had a great job adapting parts of the many runs of this character, while bringing a lot of new stuff to the table. Now I'm going to give my overall thoughts on each episode. Episode 1 and 2, The Goldfish Problem and Summon of the Suit, are brilliant instructions where you get to follow Steven and see him slowly find out his other half. Episode 3, The Friendly Type, is a thrilling time following the two personalities and Layla. Episode 4, The Tomb, does the same as the previous in a more slow way, but overall only is there to make a more shocking ending. Definitely the weakest in the series. Episode 5, Asylum, is such a beautiful episode where we explore Mark's backstories and feelings, as we also see Steven realise he isn't the main personality. Then finally, Episode 6, Gods and Monsters, I can admit is weak in some areas, but its overall an action-packed finale did this threat, while it also gives us more possibilities for the future of the character. I do think the show could have been placed a lot better in its story. It's clear that Disney are going with the 6-episode formula now, so that won't really change for future MCU series projects with Disney Plus, unfortunately. Overall, I will admit this is a very biased rating, but I love this series, and I'm personally going to give it a 4.5 out of 5 or a 9 out of 10. So overall, that is information about the maker of Moon Knight and my own personal thoughts. I don't know, I just love the character so much, and honestly, I have another nitpick. I do think they CGI over the suit really unnecessary. There's also plenty of back shots where you see it looking so great, and when you see the front you're like, this is way too much CGI. But heck, that's a problem with most heroes, especially with Spider-Man. That is my main complaint with the MCU Spider-Man. They CGI over the suits that you have practically. Even the Moon Knight suit was very practical. But yeah, I haven't got anything else to really say. I was really glad to get the No Way Home video done. That was very long compared to the others, but hey, I got it done. And next week, hopefully, for the final week, before we'll get to move on to a bit of different content before I revisit the MCU in the future, will be for Multiverse of Madness, which honestly, I'm looking forward to give a little bit of research into. But anyways, if you like the MCU videos, please consider like, comment and subscribing. Honestly, I'd like to see comments more about any additional information about the making of the series and your own thoughts on the series itself. And also, subscribing isn't the main priority to me. I love talking about things that I'm interested in, while also getting to edit a video. But you know, you can't lie, the subscribing is a little bit of a nice perk. But yeah, I haven't got anything else to really say as mentioned, so I'll see you next week for Multiverse of Madness.